Hey, how's it going? It is better late than never sometimes. Make sure my phone is off. And how's everybody's week? My week is super busy. Make sure I block that. Okay. What do we have going on? Cheddar says, hola, how's it going? Hey, Cheddar, what's up, buddy? Okay. What's happening? Matt Harrison, what's happening? Well, what's happening is I've had the busiest probably last week and a half or 2 weeks that I've had ever since I've been doing the YouTube gig. And it's because, as you guys are probably doing, I'm probably building this up and it's going to probably make you all nuts. But obviously, the Sharpen My Axe series starts next week. There's a reason why it starts next week, because I refused to put it out until I had a catalog of them. And if you guys are entering into that Sharpen My Axe to have your guitars, please don't worry about that. I'm still going through all the entries I have. If you still want to enter, this is kind of be like evolving and going as we go. The ones I'm doing are like I said, they're not done. Nothing's pre-decided. The only thing is I have 4 already planned out. 4 already. 2 are already filmed and done and ready to go. That's how I know they're coming out next Wednesday. It'll be every Wednesday for a while. What I'd like to have happen, I'm sorry to be chatty, what I'd like to have happen with Sharpen My Axe is that once I release the first one on the Wednesday, which is next week, it's every Wednesday from then on. There'll be a video or one of the or something to that effect. I'm trying to keep some of it secret because it's really exciting. So what happened is I filmed 2 Sharpen My Axes. They're completely done. And I was working on the 3rd one today. So it's done because I want 3 before I put the first one out so I can stay at least 2 weeks ahead of you guys in case I have a problem. So there you go. But Phil Smith just said, I saw the broken headstock, so I guess there's finally a Gibson Sharpen My Axe video. Yeah, it was an Epiphone. But yes, the broken headstock Epiphone will be episode number 8. They're all, like I said, this is almost going to be professional around here. We got them all figured out. And when they come out, next week's is I'm not going to talk about them actually, but you'll be in for a week. No big deal. So yeah, Blues Bunker says, I want my axe sharpened. Yeah, if you're interested, just go ahead and send it just in the subject, askknowyourgear@gmail.com. You need to put in the subject, sharpen my axe, so I know what that subject is, and I'll put it in the category. And we'll do that. All right. Okay, let's start with some questions. Let's see what's going on this week. What's going on? Nightmare Bill says, greetings from the Netherlands. All right. I got a nice iced coffee here. Requiem Dead says, would you do a project guitar? Well, technically I am doing one and I just did one. So yes, I'm going to say the answer is yes. Yeah. Chuck Dickens says, it's nice to get here pre the 500. Yeah, it was, like I said, it was hey, Agwafish. Agwafish, I got your email and I'll email you back today. I promise. I have something in the plans for and I want to invite you to it. Okay. So that being said, Dale says, how much money do you have in equipment? Oh, if I tell you guys, then my wife will know. It's never going to happen. What's the joke? The joke is, something about drug habits, right? Like if I had a drug habit, this is what I have instead of a drug habit. Something to that degree. I'm messing up the joke already. Chaffic, Baruthi, sure. Says, what do you think of super cheap Grover tuners? Super cheap ones? You know, cheap Grover tuners, I know what you mean. There's import Grover tuners, right? And they're kind of not as good sometimes. They're still fine. I haven't had issues. Sometimes they break, but I think that happens to a lot of the cheaper tuners. You just don't notice. And a lot of them, because the brass, they use cheaper gears, they tend to slip and stuff. So there's some issues there. The good news is you can tell when you're messing with them. They feel cheap or broken. So Okay. All right. So Laura D says, how much would you spend on a repair considering the guitar's value? Hopefully we're going to be answering that question thoroughly with these Sharpen My Axe videos, because the core of the videos is that you guys said you wanted me to continue to do them. So I'm going to continue doing them. And I want to make them to where they're practical and helpful for you guys, but also something that would literally not make sense for you to do, so you could see that as well. So to answer that question, how much would I spend considering guitar's value? It's an emotional answer, and that's the important part. Practically, practical value, obviously, I wouldn't spend much compared to a guitar's value. So in other words, if a guitar was worth $200, would I put $200 worth of stuff in it? Practical value? No. But, I once had somebody say to me a really interesting thing, and I thought it made a little sense. When somebody says, why would you put $200 worth of stuff into a $200 guitar? The answer someone gave me once, which I thought was great, was because I'll never have $400 at one time, but I have the guitar and I can slowly put $200 worth into it. And I think that's a practical answer. Again, practicality is not just as easy as, what's the best deal with your money. Sometimes it's what's the best situation for you. If you have kids and here's how I look at it. When I had kids, I still have kids, but when I had kids in my 20s, an extra $10 a week was what you had. So I could invest that into my guitar without putting a burden on the family. That's the decision I made. It happens. So I understand that logic. Sometimes it's easier to incrementally fix your guitar at $10 at a time. So, and then after a while it adds up. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions. Somebody says, yeah, don't burden your family. Yeah, that's a reality of it. You know what I mean? Jamie wants to know, do I ever use a strobe tuner? I do. I have 2 strobe tuners. And absolutely. Yeah, they're really nice for intonation purposes for sure. I use them heavily for intonation. I don't use them casually though. If that helps. Like I wouldn't get out my strobe tuner, my Peterson, to tune up my guitar right here in this room, but I use it in my shop all the time. Absolutely. Jeff said, just acquired a 6-string fretless bass. What is equal to 30 fret? That is equal to a 30 fret fingerboard. Wondering what amp you might recommend for the bass with that range. Yeah, that's a good question. Like a combo. I'll tell you what combo amp I'm thinking about getting next. It's TC Electronics combo amp, and the reason is because I really like having compression in my bass amp. It's a nice feature to have sometimes, especially when I'm playing and you want to control how much low end frequency is traveling from the amp. You can kind of limit that a little bit. And I really had fun with the tone print, and you can put a compressor in it. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. And the 212 combo that I'm looking at would easily handle the low B and the high C on that fretless. So yeah, that's one I'd like. What else? There's some expensive bass amps I like too. I like the Mason Boogie bass amps, but they're really pricey for what they are. But like I said, right now I'm in the mood to get that TC one. So. Okay, next question. Oh, Jerry, this is a good one. Jerry says, Phil, thanks for having a clean show that my kids and grandkids can watch with me. Man, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, that's something I consciously decided, that was what we were going to do. And it's funny now because when I'm talking to people outside of YouTube, I'm more conscious about saying a curse word, where before I would probably say them. I decided not to do them on the channel for a lot of reasons. And so, yeah, I find it's actually, I like it. So that's why I do it that way, but I wouldn't say it's easier. It seems sometimes harder to refrain from, inappropriate language. Sometimes a good inappropriate word solves a lot of problems. But quickly, it just describes a whole lot fast, but I prefer it this way. So I appreciate you appreciated that. Oh, Nightmare Bill says, Phil, what do you think of the Evertune bridge? I think I've talked about this a while back. I did a guitar with the Evertune bridge. I did a setup on one. I had to read the manual. It was really cool. I really liked it. It was a little scary at first, though. I think it would really, it was funny. And I imagine it would probably be intimidating to a lot of people because it was intimidating to me the first time I saw one. The guitar wasn't in tune. It was all jacked up and I had no idea what was going on. So, but once I got it all dialed in and once I read the manual, it was quick and easy and I liked it a lot. There's a lot of good things to say about it. So, but it was in that reference of a setup. So I played it a little bit, set it up and sent it on the way. I never really, played it for a long period of time and I didn't own it. So I don't have an extended reference of it. So that's where I just want to be clear. If you guys do, if anyone out there has an Evertune bridge, let me know. Does it change your world for you? Like once you go that route, you can't go back. So, okay. What do we got next? What's up? Chapless says, Phil, what do you think of Behringer bass amps? Any good? I'm not a big fan of Behringer product as a whole. I think of it as a necessity. You know, you need stuff that's affordable. And I know in the mixer world, and here's the thing with Behringer, for me, I'm not versed in mixers and PAs and all that stuff. So I can't really tell you what they are in that world. I can only tell you the guitar side that I'm interested in and I work in. And to me, the thing with Behringer for me is I feel like there's a lot of options that hit their price points now that are as good or better. Again, not a big fan of Behringer as a whole, to be honest with you. But I always do this disclaimer. I do have some friends that swear and love by their Behringer products. Me personally, there's just never been a Behringer product that I've identified with and I liked. It's just not for me. So that being said, I don't own any Behringer pedals. I don't own any Behringer amps. And I've never, and then to be honest, on top of that, I don't even really try them because my past experiences never let me to want to do them more. Somebody put Behringer is a total budget. Nothing wrong with that, but it's better to save up and get better. I really feel, you know, and that's a random selector. I agree. I think doesn't take much money to get better than Behringer. So, in a world where maybe when they first came out, it was like really interesting to see an affordable product. I think there's a ton of product out there now that is as cheap, but maybe better, but who knows? So I'm really interested in the new TC pedals though. So, you know, the TC pedals that are essentially the Behringer package, that look repackaged to some degree. I don't want to start that as a rumor. I don't know that to be true. I just know that Behringer owns TC Electronics and that obviously the new affordable line of TC pedals look kind of like the Behringer pedals in metal cases now. So I don't know what the rework on that is. And so I was thinking maybe that's the first time I'll give it a go, you know what I mean, with the TC brand on it. At first, my gut instinct was like, oh, it's Behringer repackaged as TC. It looks like a, you know, kind of a scam. But having an interaction with the TC guys, with Tor and Tobias, those guys love their job. They care about that company. They're vested in emotionally into it. They're nice guys. They're smart guys. And those kind of things change my mind, you know, perceptionally. Like, hey, look, you know, are they going to really do this, you know, this way? Or are they going to do it the right way? And so I get the vibe they're going to do it the right way. So, oh yeah. So Wago is saying Behringer is starting to kill in the synth world. I think Behringer is killing in every world it is. I mean, there's no disputing that it's not hard to be the most affordable thing. In other words, you know, because cost is something that a lot of people just can't get around. If you have $5 and everything's 10, the first time somebody makes something for $5, I mean, it's your win because it's the only thing you have. So of course, Behringer will win because once you make a product that people can afford, a $50 pedal, a $30 pedal, I mean, what are you going to do, right? Behringer has amps that are inexpensive. So I think that mentality for me though is used stuff is so plentiful and so good that a lot of times when I look at it, somebody says, hey, what do you think of this Behringer tube amp for $300? And I go, you know how many used amazing tube amps are out there for $300? So that's my logic. I'd rather get something that I like, that I know I like for $200-$300 it's used than versus buy you know, a lower brand. But again, and I love it when people can try to change my mind. So if you guys are passionate out there, if you guys, here's some Behringer fans out there that are like, we're all missing it, especially me, I'm missing it. Put it in the comments down below. I'm open-minded. You know what I mean? I don't know it all. That's for sure. I don't even, you know, I can't tell you. I'm like, I figured it all out. So Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some gems out there, some Behringer stuff that I need to really get on there. So, next, what do you think about smaller? The Bujera. So now they're asking about Bujera. Donovan Beats is saying, what do you think about the smaller Bujera Tri-Rec? It would be nice to get that sound in something smaller. Again, Bujera is Behringer, so I don't really give them a whole lot of time and love. So I don't know. You know what I mean, Donovan? I've never tried it. I've literally never tried any Bujera product. I've never even plugged into it. So I know that's horrible. I could be missing something. Like I said, I would love it for you guys to give me some feedback on that. So, okay. Okay, so Shazbot says, hey, Phil, did you check out the Vola Blaze X at NAMM? I did check out the Vola guitars. And the Vola guitars, for me, I know that everybody loves them. Robert Baker's like they're amazing, and the Tone King's like they're amazing, and everybody, and David Wildman's like it's the greatest thing ever. So when I picked up the Vola guitars, all of them, with no exception for me, every single one of them, I don't care what a model was, there was something consistent in all of them that I really that I'd like to share. Quality-wise, fantastic. There was no issues there. I mean, obviously, you know, the Acacia guys build the USA ones, and of course, the Japanese ones are, I don't know who makes them, but, you know, probably somebody like Team J Craft or something like that. Very good quality Japanese-made guitars. I'm not sure where they are made in Japan. Please don't quote me. Some Vola fanboy out there is probably typing so fast right now his fingers hurt to tell me how wrong I am. Again, I don't know. I'm guessing. I just know they're made in Japan. My point to that with the Vola guitars is the one thing they have consistent is this. Every single neck feels exactly, to me, like the Richie Kotzen Tele neck. Now, when I said that to somebody at the booth, they said, actually, the Vola guys said they love that guitar. That's one of their favorite guitars, and that's one of the things they modeled after, the necks after. If you're not familiar with the Richie Kotzen Telecaster by Fender Guitars, it is one of the thickest necks you've ever played. It is definitely the 59 Les Paul giant jumbo thick neck. So I think where it's confusing for me is those guitars seem fast and shreddy. And then I picked up the neck and it's huge and very thick. And that's not my thing. That's not the neck I'm into. So, and I thought, oh, well, they'll probably have different necks. Like this is a Stratty kind of guitar, so it has a thick neck. Let's try the shreddy guitar. Nope, that's the thick neck. And then I thought, well, let's check the modern guitar. Nope, that's the, well, this has a Floyd Rose, thick neck. That was the neck they put on all the guitars. And apparently the guys at Vola love that neck. So, and I don't know, because I'm not super familiar with the brand, if I was playing all Japanese ones or if there were some American ones mixed in there. I thought they were mixed in there. And I thought I was pretty thorough with what I went through. But that would be my thing to Vola guitars. And the reason I mention that is because all the guys that have Vola guitars on YouTube never seem to speak to that, which I think is very strange. David Wildman's a perfect example. I love him so much as a YouTuber, and I love his channel, and I watch it. And I know he's into Ibanez's, and I may have missed it. So if he did say it, please, you know, put that in the notes so we know. He said he loves it, and I believe him. But I was shocked because I thought he was going to say it's a lot different than my Ibanez neck, and he really didn't mention it. So I don't know. You know, I guess they just maybe, and he might not even care about neck thickness. You know what I mean? Some players don't care about frets and thickness. Every guitar is a guitar. But to me, the necks were super thick. And if you're into that, I think you will love those guitars. If you, hold on, wait. I'm going to go to a comment, but, and if you're into really thick necks, I think the Vola guitars could be your thing. And I'm sure that's probably why they sound pretty good, because they probably resonate really well. Mahogany Marco says, Richie Kotzen himself says wanted that neck because he has fairly big hands for his size. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, you play a million guitars, only a few necks start sticking out. You know, like, to me, the extremes of necks, if I was going to say for me, the RG Wizard neck, the Ibanez Wizard neck is like the thinnest neck, and then the Richie Kotzen's like the thickest neck, right? Those are the two scales of thin to thick. And that's why I said the Volas are definitely on that super thick guitar neck scale. So something just to consider. But who knows, maybe they're open to making different necks. That kind of something is what they alluded. They may make different necks in the future. But that's why I didn't buy one at the NAMM show. You know, Obviously, they came highly recommended. They were there. They seemed like nice guys. But when I was playing, I was like, I just know if I get one of these, it's gonna sit on my shelf. Because my 594 PRS neck is pretty thick, and it's not as thick as those. It's close, but not as thick, and that's why it doesn't get as much play time. It just doesn't. Okay. What else do we got? Oh, I'm missing super chats, somebody says. Am I really? You know what I don't know is where they go. Because I can't see them. Oh, wait, here's one. I found one. Okay, this is Wago. Wago says TC June 60 chorus coming. Based on Roland Juno 60. Oh, cool. So the 60 chorus is coming in June, I take it. Based on the Roland Juno 60. Oh, that's good. Thanks, man. Let's see if I missed any more. Sometimes. Yeah, I don't think. See, they highlight them in a color for me. Okay, here you go. Marty. Marty's got a question. He says, any problem raising Fender's 2-point trims pivot screws to raise the trim plate? Okay, so what he's saying is to raise the action, raising the 2 screws to raise that. Any problem raising Fender's 2-point trims, pivot screws. Okay, that's one sentence. Any problem raising Fender's 2-point trim pivot screws to raise the trim plate? No, not at all. So in other words, yeah, you can raise it from those 2 points. Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's not a problem at all. Instead of maybe doing it from the 6 saddles, I guess is that what you're looking at? Yeah, you don't want to get too extreme with it, but yeah, you can. Email Nielsen? Sure. Email. We'll say email. Any experience with EMG active Tele Pickup set? No. Definitely the Strats. Definitely the humbuckers, but not the Tele set. That's an interesting thing because that would be an interesting pickup set to put in a Tele, because the fact that the EMGs kind of have an interesting characteristic where they sound kind of full like humbuckers even when they're single coils. So in a Tele, it might give it an interesting perspective. I never thought about this too for the Sharpen My Axe videos. Maybe that's another company we could reach out to and see if there's something we can do with that, because I'm sure there's some EMG fans out there. Here just for the comments. What a great name. Says, hi, I'm thinking of replacing the Duncan design pickups in my Squier Strat Deluxe with tone writers. Is that an upgrade? Maybe other affordable brands? Love the channel. Upgrade is tough. It's going to sound different. I think the tone writers have a different tonality to them. That's a tough question, man. Some of the easiest questions are the toughest, and this one is tough because it's hard to get perspective on a pickup design. It's like, hey, if I take this pickup out, I put another pickup, is it going to sound better? Well, it's going to have more brights, it's going to have more highs. I'm going to say yes for the overall because I really like the tone writer stuff. Okay, Shut Up, Let's Talk says, mind checking out the Luna Guitar Works and tell us what you think. Price is $1,280. Luna has a guitar for $1,200. Hold on a second. I got to look this up. The question he's asking is the Luna Guitar Works for $1,280. Am I missing it? Oh, this is a totally different guitar than what I think. Okay, let's find them. Because Luna guitars. Oh, so this is interesting. Luna Guitar Works. Okay, I'll show you guys what he's talking about. Because if you're familiar with, like me, I'm familiar with Luna Guitars, which is a brand that's kind of focused towards females, but obviously has guitars, for everybody. And this is not what I thought this is. So this is something different. Interesting. I know a little about them. They definitely have that kind of Sir and Tom Anderson look to them. Let's look at some of their guitars real quick. There's a standard series. Sure, let's look at the standard pro. Okay. So yeah, definitely the Tom Anderson Sir look, but it looks like a hip shot bridge, Seymour Duncan parts, pickups. I don't know. I'd have to reach out to them. Maybe if they're willing to loan me a guitar. Okay, let's stop that. So you never know. That's one of the things. Maybe, you know, I'd definitely like to give them some love if we can. Seems like a small builder. So, okay. Next question. What do we got? What's interesting? So Time for Illumination says every guitar is, oh, where'd you go? Is a Strat or a Les Paul. And that's his statement. It's not really a question. And I want to get back to it. Hold on a second. Because I have an interesting thought about that. Time for Illumination says every guitar is just a Strat and a Les Paul copy. And every acoustic is a Dreadnought copy. And yes, you know what I mean? Essentially, there's a logic, and I think that has nothing to do with guitar. It has to do with once you get to the universal form of something. In other words, like a pickup truck. It's a car with a bed and a harder suspension and bigger tires. Then every truck's going to be like that, right? No one's kind of trying to change the way a truck looks because of the fact that it's functional. So I think guitars work the same way, just like acoustics. You know, they make, once Martin made the Dreadnought, everybody's like, well, we're going to make a Dreadnought because that's the shape that seems to work. And the Strat, once, you know, Fender made the Strat, they're like, this is very comfortable. This works. So I think that's why you're going to see that. So I don't think we should worry anymore whether or not somebody's copying a Strat or Les Paul. It's, are they improving it? Are they making something better? And I think there's a lot of ways to look to that. You can improve a Strat by making it more affordable. Wouldn't it be great if you go, okay, look, somebody wants a $1,300 Strat. Well, I would like to make the same quality guitar for $300 and open it to a customer base that didn't have that option before. And some people are like, hey, I'd like to take the $1,300 Strat and I'd like to make a better one. Doesn't matter if it's $5,000, it's going to be better. It's going to blow everybody's doors off. So again, if you could take an existing form and improve it, whether that be by improving it by giving it to more people or improving by making it better, I think that's the win. So, and that's the same thing with pedals and amps too. At some point, you know, everybody's like, everything's just a clone of something. I'm like, well, clone is not technically the exact same thing, because some people are cloning it to make it cheaper. Some people are cloning it and improving it or changing it. And that's where the improvement is, the perception is the improvement, because they're, you know, they're changing it. You know, think of it this way. I always, Tube Screamers, it's a heavy clone pedal, but that's because there's so many people who are like, you know, like Michael Anthony Badio, right? Michael Badio. Is it Anthony? Michael Badio. I don't know why I'm saying that. Michael Badio, the guy that plays the two necks like this, he has a T-Rex pedal, and he said it's a Tube Screamer with a different tone control. He just wanted a Tube Screamer with different tone control. Again, you could say, well, why make a Tube Screamer? But in his mind, he's like, he thought the original was too shrill, so he had him change it. So again, that's just the change. Oh, Mike D says, is the Crate power block loud enough for a band when the other guitar player has a Marshall 100 watt? It's going to be fighting tooth and nail, but I'm going to say no if he's cranking that Marshall to 100 watts. And it depends on the Marshall. You know what I mean? If a Marshall 100 watt JVM, I don't think you crank that to 10. But if it was a JCM 800 or a Plexi where you're pretty much running that thing at 8 or 10, but it's close, man. It could be done. You know, it depends on how crazy the guitar player is. You know, if he wants to take the Marshall, crank it at 10 and face it to the drummer, I don't think you got a shot. But I think if he's being realistic with his amp, you got a shot. So yeah, it's close enough, especially, you know, for how small it is and what it is. So Kyle says, Phil, I have just got the balaguer growler. I really like it. Have you played balaguer stuff? I touched everything at the NAMM show and checked it out. Joe Balaguer is a great guy. I enjoyed talking to him. I really was impressed with his guitars. He even sent an email asking me if I was interested in maybe checking something out. I am, but I just haven't had the time to send that email back and see if he's got time to send me something to check out and show you guys. So like I said, I don't want to like milk it too much, but the Sharp Max videos are very time consuming. Each one takes about 3 days. They're one of those videos that just don't look like they take so much time, but they literally consume so much time. So, Oh, Daniel says, hey, Phil, you missed my super chat. Sorry, Daniel. Okay, let's fix it right now. Have you played a Splon Nitro Pro mod? Any good? Used prices are great right now. Worth it. The Splons are fantastic. That's one of the best Marshall amps, Marshall style amps I've ever played was a Splon. But I don't know which one I played. I just remember I plugged in, my buddy had one in his shop, and I played it, and I was like just in love. So, yeah. I've never, and you know what? And another friend of mine who's definitely got a great ear and a great player. He plays Splon only, and he loves his. So definitely, for sure. Cheddar Kung Pao said, speaking of small spilders, let's try that one more time. Let's take a drink of water, maybe. Maybe that'll help. That's what I get for being stuck in traffic for 2 hours. Speaking of small builders, maybe have Matt at Texas Toast make you a guitar. I'm sure he'd give you a good deal on another LP special double cut. He's making mine. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember, Cheddar, you were talking about the Texas Toast, because it's just a strange name for a company. So it's Matt at Texas Toast. I'll look into it. Again, there's so many guitars. You know what I mean? Warren Parker says, hey, Phil, what do you think of the DSL 20 or the Tubemister 18? I haven't tried the DSL 20. Like I said, that was what I was thinking about next. And but I have owned the Tubemister 18, and I liked it a lot. I enjoyed that amp immensely. For me personally, there are two different types of amplifiers. The DSL 20, of course, has digital reverb, which is nice. The Tubemeister does not. I think the Tubemeister, to me, is more of a Fender amp sound in my mind. You know, it's like a hot-rodded Fender kind of sound. It's a preference. You know, what do I think of them? I think they're both pretty cool. I like the Tubemeister better. And that's off a perception of never even playing the DSL 20. So it's almost silly to say that, but it's just true. Just, you know. But maybe I'll get my hands on a DSL 20 and we'll be able to tell which one I like better. Big J75 says, hey, Phil, hello from Canada. Hello. I'm currently setting up a new Ibanez SA. What is, in your opinion, the most ergonomically designed? To me, it's the Fender Strat. You know what I mean? Or any Strat type body. Man, I just like really having that carve right there, the belly cut, just all the function and features. The Strat is the most comfortable guitar for me personally. And then anything that feels like a Strat is comfortable. So like that's why I play Ibanez RG series guitars. Anything that just has that feels great. In fact, sometimes that's a sound over function and function over sound. I think they feel and function great. And even though I prefer how the guitar sounds sometimes, they just feel good. And that makes a big difference to me. So what do you guys got? They want to know what kind of, I can't say the name. Keeley is no, whatever. I'm just going to give it a shot. What kind of mic are you using for the recordings QA? Right now, I'm just using the iRig Studio mic. Plugs right into my Mac, and it just made life easy. Plugs in really easy. So, okay. What else we got? Have I tried the JP, the John Petrucci Music Man? Yeah, I owned a 7-string John Petrucci for a while. I like it. I have a friend who has tons of them, and I played most of his. I like them a lot. I don't know if I regret selling my 7-string John Petrucci. It's one of those things, you know, I wasn't using it at all, and I kind of get rid of it, and I think about getting another one, but I think about the fact that I don't use them as much. So IcePick19 says, Phil, American Telecaster used for $800. They seem to have a higher resale value than Strats. Also, should I change out the T-saddles? Okay, so American Tele. So here's the thing I want to ask you, IcePick 19. So you're saying American Tele used for $800. So I'm assuming you mean American Standard or Pro Tele for $800. But when you say, should I change out the T saddles, then the American Standard and Pro Series would not have T-settles, but the American Special would. And then $800 is a little too high for an American Special, in my opinion, because they sell for like $1,050, right? New. Maybe they're 11 now, but they were $1,000 new. So 800 is kind of on the pricey side. I'd like to be American Special for 650 to 600. That's what I'd like to see it at. So something to just check on, you know, when you're looking at that again. I think that's something I see every once in a while, and I don't dig it when people list guitars. They say American Strat or American Tele, you know, but there's American Standards, American Specials. Standards to me are the same as Pros, although the Pros technically sell for more, but you get the idea. But something to think about. And yes, you're absolutely right. The Teles seem to outsell the Strats now used. People are always looking for a Tele. I'm sure by volume Strats still win, but it feels like, yeah, the Teles have a higher resale value because I think there's just been lately there's been a resurgence in Teles. So people seem very excited about them. All right. Oh, you know, here's a question. I've actually answered one like this before, but I like this question. I'll hit it again. Aaron says, I'm contemplating buying the Zach Myers Pure SSE. Will I regret not going up to the S2 quality of PRS? No. I like the S2s a lot, and I like the SEs a lot, and I don't feel that, to me, they're a huge difference in the way they feel and the quality. If I argued the S2s are better in some way, I maybe 10% better. So there's the logic. So a good example, I have an S2 semi-hollow PRS. It's behind me. It's black. Somewhere behind me, it's black. And the Zach Myers. The Zach Myers has a slightly thicker head neck, and it's satin, as we discussed earlier. I'm not a big fan of the really thick necks. And the satin feels pretty cool, but I don't know if I like that over the gloss. Ultimately, I like the S2 better. That's the way I went. But logically, I think at the $1,600, but also keep this in mind for fairness and transparency. The S2 that I have, I did not pay retail for. I didn't pay the $1,600. In fact, I just recently realized that's how much they are, right? I think I paid $900 for it. Okay. So to me, the Zach Myers, isn't that like $7? So it's close. So to me, it was like, you know, I could probably get the Zach Myers for, you know, probably in the $6 range. So me, for a couple $100, I'd get it. I don't know if I'd say for double it's worth it. In fact, I could say right now it's not. For double, if I had to pay $16 for that S2, I think I would have gotten the Zach Myers. So something like that. And then in that logic, you can get S2 used. But when I looked at the S2 semi-hollows used, they seem to be holding their values. So I like the Zach Myers. So I don't think you'll regret it, if that helps. Tone Boner. Hey, Tone Boner. That's a great sign on. Hey, Phil, here's 10 Canadian dollars. That's like $4 American dollars. Have a beer. Haha. You said Tone Boner. You made me say it. Thank you. So, yeah. And the funny part is, yeah, the conversion rate's different, but isn't like beer extremely expensive in Canada? Isn't that the thing? So is that what my understanding is it's off the charts? So, all right, next, let's see what else you guys got. All right. Oh, you know what? That was a good one. Somebody was asking watts to volume. You know what I mean? In other words, watts. So the question is, JBN12 says, watts to volume. Can you explain? Yes and no. Watts are easy to explain because they're a number. So 20 watts is, you know, it's 20 watts, but here's why. 20 watts is, in the logic that we use, 40 watts is louder than 20 watts. 50 watts is louder than 40 watts. 100 watts is louder than that. That's how the logic the manufacturers use, because it's an easy thing to explain to a person. Although, yes, you're onto the right trail, which is, no, that's not how it really works. Technically, there's a lot more in play. You know, for a short time, Boss was doing this interesting thing with their PAs, and I thought that was cool. They weren't talking in wattage. They were talking in people. So they were saying this micro PA is good for 40 people in a room. This micro PA is good for 80 people in a room. And I thought, oh, okay, that's a room set. That's a logic. Okay, so it fills up a room. And I always love that theory that, hey, you know, how about if I said a 20 watt amp? It's not a 20 watt amp. It's just, this is an amp rated for 40 people in a mid-sized room. And then a 100 watt amp is rated for, you know, 300 people in a larger room. I think that makes more sense to me, but it's not that easy. And so, and watts is also a problem, because volume is another reason why volume doesn't equate to watts. In other words, just saying a 20 watt amp is louder than a 5 watt amp is because there's a lot of controversy about what the watts are being disclosed. Sometimes amps, they round up. They say, hey, this amp's 50 watts, but it's really 42 watts. And sometimes they're talking about the draw versus output. You know, this amp draws a certain amount of wattage and it only puts out another part of wattage. So there, it's such a nightmare that that's why, but generally speaking, a 5 watt amp is not as loud as a 50 watt amp. That's an easy thing to say. So yeah, it's a guideline, although it's not the actual truth. I think it gets us close to the idea. I have no problem saying it to anyone. You know, they said, hey, is this 40 watt amp louder than 20 watt amp? I say, yeah, I feel pretty confident in that. But although technically they could almost be equal in the decibels they put out in the sound. Another thing I like to think of when I think of wattage is, to me, it's not so how loud it is, it's how loud it projects. So to me, it's like, if I stand in front of a 5 watt amp, it's pretty loud. But if I stand 20 feet in front of it, it's not as loud. But I take a 50 watt amp, I stand next to it, I perceive it as being the same volume as the 5 watt amp. But then 20 feet out, I perceive it as being louder than that 5 watt. And I really like that analogy the most. Sometimes wattage to me is about how loud it can project itself out, so much how much louder it is. Everything's pretty loud when you're standing next to it. So there you go. And I'm sure some some amp gurus out there will kind of explain it better in the comments, but I really like those analogies. They work for me very well. Yeah, and see, Randy is saying, and I agree with this. Randy said, because I've heard the same thing, Randy, from Amp Builders. I've heard that every 10 watts gains about 3 decibels. And so here's the thing, Randy. I was explaining the same thing by some Amp Builders, but then I was explaining that there's like a law of diminishing returns on that. At some point, that's not how it works. So in other words, the 100 watt amp and the 110 watt amp, you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way anymore. At some point, there's a degree, like I said, it's a law of diminishing returns. At some point, it just doesn't work that way. So generally, again, I think that's another good guideline, but it depends on how nerdy you want to get into it, right? So there you go. And then keep in mind, the entire time I'm talking, that's just about tube amps. I don't even bring an solid state into the mess. Greg Schneider says, Phil, nice meeting you at NAMM. It was nice meeting you too, Greg. I was there with balaguer, and I saw you stop by the booth. Did you get a chance to try one out? Yeah, I did. And what do you think? Like I said, I tried the balaguer guitars out because we did the How Do You Say video, and Joe was so nice to do that video. And that's how we know it's balaguer. No, I was really impressed with the guitars. If you guys are not aware of what a balaguer guitar is basically he came up with this idea of saying, hey, instead of doing a mass-produced guitar in Korea, he says, what if we do custom guitars? So in other words, using custom shops in Korea, they can build you a custom guitar in Korea using either a template of guitars they already have or doing it straight, you know, just you dream it up and he does the CAD and sends the CAD program to Korea. Either way, it's like getting a custom guitar made for you for about $1,100 to $1,500, which if you look at it, puts him right into the sweet spot of the higher end of Schecter guitars and guitars that are in Korea as a mass-produced guitar, as a custom guitar. So it's interesting. In fact, I could tell you when I was looking at the guitars, the first thing I thought of was like, wouldn't it be cool to do like 12 guitars, like design a guitar and have 12 of them made, and then anyone who wants to get one, we can get one and just do it as a group, like a group buy-in. Stuff like that got me kind of excited. And like I said, I haven't had a chance to talk to him again. But I definitely think check him out. I was really impressed with the quality, obviously, and I like the concept. The idea was interesting. So I really like the idea that sometimes instead of just using Korea and China and Indonesia and all this to make the guitars that we already make here cheaper, why don't we look at ways to make guitars better over there that just can, that it's not like it's just a cheaper version of a nice guitar. Why don't we make a better version of a nice guitar that happens to be less money, right? So in other words, instead of saying, hey, we got a Les Paul here for $2,000, let's make an import Chinese one for $500 that's not as good because it doesn't have the same features. Why don't we take and make a guitar over there that blows the $2,000 guitar away at $1,200, right? Sometimes that's a thought too, right? Not everything has to be, let's make a cheaper, less stripped down version. Why don't we make a better version that is also, instead of dramatically less, just slightly less, right? So there you go. All right. Okay, so Always Rockin' 2009 says, on small tube amps with headphone jack. Wait, what? Okay, so the question is, a small tube amp with headphone jack and an effects loop. Please help. Oh, that's tough, man. So I only know a few that do that with a headphone jack. Effects loops, easy, but a lot of tube amps, small tube amps have effects loops. That's not a big deal. Headphone jacks, I want to say Blackstar has them. Trying to think of anyone else. Because it's tough. I know Blackstar, so I'm going to say Blackstar is a good start. If anyone else knows, please put in the suggestions down below. It's an option I've never really looked for, so it's only something I've just happened by and seen on that amp. I'm not usually looking for a headphone jack in my tube amp. So, I use a mini Rock Wreck by Rivera, and it's a load box I can put on any one of my tube amps, and it makes every tube amp a headphone. So once you have that, I don't need it anymore. So something to think about. There's devices that will help you turn your tube amp into a headphone amp. And my logic is, well, that device is, obviously not super inexpensive, but it's not that much considering it can now make every tube amp do exactly what you want. Matthew Roche says, hey, Phil, big thanks for what you do. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I have a Roland Blues Cube Hot 30 watt, okay, and a Boss ME 80. Getting hi-fi's noise problems. Oh, I use a power conditioner, no problem. With analog pedals, any ideas? Okay, so let's diagnose this a little bit because this is a little tricky. So basically, you're using the ME 80, I'm assuming, in the front of the amp, and you're getting the hi-fi noise problems. I use a power conditioner, and he has no problem. Okay, so the big deal in this, guys, is he's using a analog. When he's using his analog pedals, he's not having a problem. So obviously, we're going to say that the problem's isolated to the ME 80, man. So it could be a ground lift issue. And the ME 80, here's the question I have for you. The ME 80, let's double check, okay? I'm going to look right now because I'm doing off memory. The ME 80 by Boss does batteries, right? So it does a 9-volt power supply, and then it does batteries. Let's double check. I'm looking right now at it because, let's see, does Boss show you the bottom? They're showing me the sides. Here, let's look at it together so you guys don't have to stare at me staring at something. Here we go. All right, so this is what he's talking about. Okay. Yep, takes batteries. So, $1 million question, buddy, is I'm going to guess that this little problem right here, this DCN, this is where you're getting your noise. It could be coming from, I know you're saying you're using a power conditioner. However, that doesn't matter, man. What I would want to know if I was you is, does the problem persist when you're on batteries? Put batteries in it. Tell me if that goes away. You know what I mean? If that, and then it's not, then you isolate it to the power. But my guess is, considering you're saying you use other analog pedals with no issues, then we've isolated it down to the M80. And since the M80 basically takes 9-volt power, then I'm going to assume that that's where the power is where the noise is coming from. So there's your issue. So go with batteries. And then once you do that, then now that's what your problem is. And then your power conditioner. Now, when you say power conditioner, you could be plugging the wall wart into the power conditioner. That's great, but the wall wart itself might be noise. They're notoriously known for having issues. All of those digital, especially now, those not digital, those new wall warts. So that's where I'm going to say the problem probably lies. And hopefully that's, I'm not just wasting your time. That's something you already tried and you were looking for a more in-depth answer, but that's definitely where I feel the problem would So there you go. Michael 350 says, hey, Phil, how come you don't use Twitch? I just haven't used it yet, but it's definitely on my radar. It's something I'm doing right now. I started doing more with it last week, checking it out and doing its thing. So yeah, I can see something like that happening as long as it seems like it works. So, all right. What do we got next? Oh, that's funny. I love it. This is a great question. Hold on a second. Okay. If I love these crazy questions. This is a crazy one. This is from LeClan Castles. Something Castles says, hey, if you could only have one pedal for busking, what would it be? My Lawrence Petroff 68 original. Definitely. That would be, if I could only have one pedal. The pedal, the funny thing about that pedal for me, the 68 drive, is if you ask me what's my 5 top favorite pedals, it's in the list, but it's not maybe number 1. And if you said, what's my favorite 2 pedals, maybe it makes the top 2, right? But if you said, if I could only have one pedal, what would it be? It's going to be the 68, because it's universally something I need. So it does the gains I like. So yeah, if I was doing busking, if you don't know what busking is, it's like where you're like playing on the side of the street kind of thing, street performer thing. That would be the pedal I'd use if I only had one pedal. Now, what's funny about that is you could use a multi-processor pedal, a little one pedal that does it all, but that's the pedal I'd use because I can pull out the sounds I need with that thing, man. So that's good. Kenneth says, I find the neck size and feel on a guitar to be most important. I absolutely agree, man. We're the same. I noticed today at my local music store that I walk through feeling all the necks before picking something up. Thoughts? Dude, I am so in tune with what you're saying. I actually don't even take guitars off the wall. I grab the guitars, I reach around, and I grab the neck like this, and I can tell within that first grab if that is just even worth pulling off the wall. So I'll go, oh yeah, no, I can feel it. So no, finicky. And I warn people, try not to be finicky that way if you want to get into guitars, because it's hard. One thing that's silly is buying all these different guitars and then trying to get them all to be like to feel the same. It seems silly. The whole point is to feel different. But I still do it. It doesn't make sense, but I do it. So yeah, no, I agree. Neck is everything to me. And everybody's got a different, neck that they love, but man, to me, it's like the neck is everything. Okay, Tony Noon. Hey, Phil, this is a good question. What are your thoughts on the 4A cab, Fort Orange Micro Dark? So 4A cabinet, I had the Black Star 4A cabinet, and it sounds good. It's a cabinet that I liked, but here's what happened with me, man. Every time, because he's saying the 112 seems too dark with dual humbuckers. Dark, interesting. Here's why. The 4A to me, I was like, I love this. It's great. It's like a mini 412. I love the concept. Take the 412, make it smaller. To me, I feel like it was more omnidirectional. I feel like the sound was really filling up the room to the 4.8, way more than a 12. Where the 12 was more focused, like it was a cannon shooting the sound in one direction. But to me, it was fizzier, just like 10s are fizzier. The 8s were even more fizzier. The bass was different. In other words, it was punchier but not fuller. And for me, the 12, I wanted to love the 8s. I went back to the 112s. I don't have a 4.8 cabinet anymore for that reason. But based on what you're saying, that the 12 seems too dark. This will definitely be brighter because it's gonna be more focused in the mids and highs, and it won't be bright. It'll be brighter because it has more mids. So yeah, you're thinking the right. Main D says best tube amp for an apartment. Oh, of course. Best tube amp for the apartment. Yeah, I'll give you 3. So hopefully it helps. Fender Super Champ X2, right? Definitely, right? It can do any volume at quiet, and it has a USB out to plug into a computer interface. You can do anything with that, and it's got a tube sound to it, right? It's definitely tubey. So definitely one. The Blackstar HT5. and maybe the HT1 too, because I'm obviously a fan of that one, but the HT5, definitely a great tube amp for an apartment. In the higher price range, the Mesa Boogie Mark 525 kills at every volume level. You can play it super, super quiet with no issues. So those are 3 amps. I'm trying to think of something else that gets, and I want to buy that one unique thing about all 3 of those amps for me. They can do clean all the way down super quiet, whisper quiet, and they can do massive distortion down to whisper quiet and everything in between. They're very universal. Those are 3 amps that I've definitely experienced that do that. The other one would be like the Hughes and Kittner Grandmaster 40 that I currently have right now. That same thing, man. Whisper quiet. It's great. And last in that range, so that's a Fender, a Hughes and Kittner, a Black Star, and a Mesa Boogie. What else? Oh, you know what? I wasn't a big fan of the clean on it, but the Marshall 1 watt that I have, definitely that's where it lives, man. It definitely does tube quiet. You put it in half watt mode, you wouldn't upset somebody if they were sitting next to you on the couch playing, watching TV, or playing a video game. So there you go. So those are a couple right there, and anything like them for sure. So Habs 247 says get a champ. Yeah, $299 for the Fender Super Champ is a hard deal to beat. Fender warranty is good. It does clean and distortion good. It has a variety of sounds. It has effects built in. It's a great amp. So still one of my favorites for what it is. So guess we're still having a problem with the super chats. You guys are saying they're getting ignored. I'm scanning for them, man. I won't let you guys leave it hanging. I promise. Okay, ready? Here's another one. Faz. Sure, Faz 555 says, thoughts on the new George Lynch LTD, 4. First, I want to show you. Okay, so I saw it at the show. My first reaction was, I gotta have that. Like, in fact, Nathan was walking with me, and we walked in the ESP booth, and I go, oh, I got to have that. And he looked, and he's like, really? And so I'm going to give you my thoughts right now. First, here we go. So you guys know what I'm talking about. If you guys are George Lynch fans, some of you I'm sure are, they did an LTD version of this Kamikaze, right? The green one. And they even did the crazy headstock. If you guys recall, remember this one has the crazy, teeth. Right. So when I saw that, I walked in the LT booth at the NAMM show this year. I was like, gotta have that. Yeah. I told Nathan, done. I'm ordering that before we leave. And he's like, really? I'm like, yep. And then he walks over to it while I'm working, because we're doing the, how do you official say video. And he says, it's $1,200. And I go, oh no. Cause the regular Kamikaze LT was $5. So I was thinking maybe $6, $7. I'm a no-go for that price, man. $1,200, that's real money. I mean, that's when I say real money, obviously it's all real money. But what I mean by that is I'm not buying that guitar as a showpiece to be like, yeah, it's the George Lynch Kamikaze 4 for $1,200. Because you know why? Deep down, all I can think about is I could have bought the real one ESP for that a few years back. I found one for about $1,400 and I didn't do it. Now, of course, you can't. So, I mean, this is the option to go with because they go crazy mad money now. So that's my thoughts. If you want to do it and it's special to you, do it. Me, the problem is I've owned a couple of George Lynch guitars. I had a Kamikaze made in USA ESP. I sold it to my buddy Tyler, and he has it now, and it was a rare one because he even after I sold it to him, he actually contacted ESP and they said it was one of the rare ones, like a 95, and it was one of the few that they did at the American shop, not in the Japanese shop. And I had a Bones guitar, but not the ESP one. I had some other George Lynch guitar. Oh, I had the, what I got is I got the $550 LTD Kamikaze guitar, and they were really cool, and I really liked those guitars. So that's why, like I said, a Kendrick Spirit, I want to just, have a Lynch guitar, but $1,200 just seemed a little more than what I feel comfortable buying a guitar just so I can have it, you know what I mean, as a showpiece. That's a lot. I'd really have to have use out of it. So Mark wants to know, hey, Phil, what's your opinion on do-it-yourself guitar kits? Just like this do-it-yourself amp kits and pedal kits, I think it's a great way to learn now educationally, especially with all the video content on top of the instructions that come with it. You can watch people build theirs. I think it's realistic. What I tell people is try to be realistic with it. Don't shove $800 into a do-it-yourself kit, unless you really want to do that. But what I do love is this. A lot of you guys send me pictures of your do-it-yourself kits. I've received a dozen or 2 dozen pictures of people saying, "Hey, Phil, I just did my do-it-yourself kit," and every time, the pride in their face with the picture is beaming. You know what I mean? It's that idea that you did something. You built a guitar. I understand it's a kit. I understand this stuff. So what I think is this. I think it's a great project idea. I think you'll learn a lot about guitar anatomy. I think there's a lot of ups to it. I think it's reasonable. One thing I will say though is this. Sometimes what I tell people is sometimes because one of the things about the do-it-yourself kits is most of them have fretted necks already. So it's not like you're fretting a neck from scratch. Sometimes you could get that same feeling from just taking a $100 guitar and fixing it up the same way. So something like that. But one thing about I will say positive about the do-it-yourself kits that I never addressed before when I made that comment was I never thought about the fact that a lot of people have really finding exciting ways to paint them or to make their aesthetics. In other words, they do different stains and different things. So it's cool. I definitely think if it's something you're on the fence about thinking about doing, I think you should do it. There's not a whole lot of downsides to it. But you got to think of it as an educational process because once you put it together, it has no value. So it's not like you're going to buy a $200 or $300 kit and then you can sell it on Craigslist for $150. You'll be lucky to get, $100 for it if you're lucky. So not that that's important, but it is a factor. Sometimes you factor in. And I got 2 questions here. Kyle's got a super chat. I'll do that one, then I'm gonna do the other question. It says, I'm considering becoming a luthier. Did you go to school for it? Yes or no? Either way, you can recommend. Well, I happen to live in a town with Roberto Venn, which is a lutherie school here in town, and they're a very acclaimed one, and so I recommend them. A lot of people who have graduated them seem to like it. There are some luthier schools around the U.S., and I've heard really good things about most of them. I don't really hear anything bad things about them. I think a lutherie school, like any certificate school, it's about expectations, right? You have to have the right expectations when you go in there. And I think most people do. I mean, the idea that you might go to a Luther school and then come out and be the next Paul Reed Smith. I mean, let's be honest. It's like going to a music school and then coming out and saying, I'm going to be the next Beatles. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But having realistic expectations and having real stuff. One thing a buddy of mine just did, Chris, he went to, I think, Oregon. And he did one of those like 1 week class things where he built a bass, but you could build a guitar. I really like those programs where you go and you do a 1 week crash course and they kind of, crash you through it, something like that. Something like that might be a good investment too. So it's not always just about, going to lutherie school. Another thing is that you have to factor in is a lot of people say, because some of those schools can cost 16 to 20 grand. Before you make that investment in it, there's other options too. And that's what I want you to be aware of, Kyle, is the options. You can also intern. You can go and be an understudy, right, for a luthier. There are a lot of shops that will let you do that. They don't, they're going to make you clean up every day and they're going to make you work, but you can get an education that way too. What I have found personally though, for me, is the only thing that I want people to understand is the lutherie certificate that the most schools provide. It's nice to have it, but it's not going to guarantee you a job over somebody else. What I find is most of the people that go to the lutherie schools end up working at the Guitar Center because the Guitar Center likes to show people, customers, that they have the certificate. But I find most mom and pop shops don't value that as high. They value your experience more than the certificate. So if you came to a shop and said, hey, I have 5 years working with this person at their shop, and that's somebody they can verify and contact and get a reference from, versus I did a 6 week or 6 month course and got a certificate. That's the value difference. Does it make sense? They'll value you with having your experience. So I want to make sure you're aware that there's other options. So the question is, how did I get my experience? Well, no, I didn't go to a lutherie school. What I did was I started making instruments like everybody. I working on my guitars, just like Paul Reed Smith. I started opening up guitars. We had the same story. Paul did the same. I did the same what Paul Reed Smith did. Started fixing my own guitars. Then I started fixing my friends' guitars. Then I started building my own basses. Actually, basses are more accurate. Then I designed and built my own basses. Then I started doing import versions of my basses. And when I did the import versions, hundreds of them coming in defective, I would work all night fixing them so I could sell them, because, you know, I have to sell them. And I did hours and hours and hours of labor on these instruments. And then from that, I just started doing more and more, and then eventually opened my own shop and started doing my own work. And then what I did was I leveraged, which I think still is one of the things I think was the smartest thing I ever did. I leveraged my store on that. What I did was I would tell manufacturers, because I was a dealer for them, they should let me go to the factories and learn from them. So I went to Fender's factories. I went to tons of factories, and I had their guys teach me stuff. And at that point, so you know, I was pretty versed and already making a living doing it, but I made them do that because I'm like, well, one, I knew they would let me, and two, I knew I'd gain some stuff from it. And some of the most interesting things that I have perspective on is not from fixing guitars, but it was from learning from those factories. So what I tell everybody is be open to every situation and just do the best path for you. But like I said, there's 1,000 ways to do this. And the best thing to do is just learn from anybody, because you never know when you will learn from somebody. There's still to this day, I learned something yesterday hanging out with a luthier friend of mine, and even I was like in shock. So not that I learned something, but just at what I learned, I thought I should. It was one of those things like I thought I should already known that by now, and I thought I did, and I was wrong. It happens. Okay, what else we got? Oh, let's do another good question here. There's 880 of us hanging out. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this Friday. So let's do Rock Show says, Phil, whatever happened to the setup videos, Vapor Talk? The setup videos got killed because of the Sharpen My Axe videos. They take just as long, if not longer. So the setup rig was what's going to happen now, you'll see next week with the first Sharpen My Axe in the series of the 10 series videos, is what I decided to do. And I'll ask feedback from you guys so you guys can let me know. What I did is in the middle of that video, I put a video. Okay. This is all based on feedback from you guys. In the Sharpen My Axe, you guys like those. You found they were entertaining. You say you guys learned some stuff. Definitely of any video I've ever done, that's the most I've ever had anybody ask me to continue to do videos on. So when I did that, now what I decided to do is in the middle of them, I've now inserted a little like 2-3 minute video on how to do something. And then what I plan to do is take that video and actually keep that as a separate video as well. So you have that option. So that's what's happening with those setup videos as well. So, and through these videos, I think we're going to cover everything, because every scenario, just like the last Sharpen My Axe videos, there seems to be a theme. I try to stick to a theme each one. So sometimes it's a wiring theme, sometimes it's a setup theme, sometimes a repair theme. Roy just did E3. All right, E3. Okay, and Flying High Ryan. Ryan. Flying High Ryan. What would you recommend as an apartment-friendly pedal platform with an effects loop for reverb delay and really good clean sound? Oh, let's see. What do I recommend for a pedal platform? Well, there's a ton of them, man. Obviously, the Hot Rod Deluxe. The Blues Junior doesn't have an effects loop, so the Hot Rod Deluxe has an effects loop like that for a pedal platform. Love the Fender Supersonic effects loop. Has reverb built in it too, just like the Hot Rod Deluxe. So, you know, you just have the delay go through. What am I currently using for a pedal platform? It is my Archon 25 combo. Very expensive, but man, is it beautiful, clean, and it does everything. Like you said, it's got everything you're asking for. It does it low volumes as well. Something like that. I'll give you a couple options because it's like kind of cool for that platform. Effects loop, pedal platform. What else do we got? Trying to stay out of the crazy expensive range, something in the realistic range. That Hughes & Kittner Grandmeister 40, same thing. That does really good for a pedal platform. I liked it so far with an effects loop. The Runt 20 by Friedman. I like that pedal platform as well. I think it does really well, and it has an effects loop as well. So there's a few. There's a ton of them out there. I dare even say the Black Star amps do pretty good pedal platform. Not as much because some of them they're kind of limited. I would like the HT20 for a pedal platform over the HT5 just on its limitations. Keith wants to know, I have a Dean Zelinsky private label guitar. Chrome tuners and hardware seems to cloud up and tarnish. Have you noticed this before? Yes, I have noticed that certain Chrome hardware has a clouding and tarnishing issue over others, and I'm sure it's because they don't the hardware they used was not dipped enough. Does that make sense? That's my experience as well. It also could be because it may look chrome, it may feel and look like it's chrome, but it's probably nickel plated. Sometimes that's not chrome, it's nickel, and they don't have the chroming on them. But you know, the other question is, it's clouding and tarnishing. The question I have for you is, it staying that way? So in other words, when you wipe it with a dry microfiber, does it clean up and then tarnish back up, or is it starting to cloud and tarnish and stay that way? So when you said hardware seems to cloud and tarnish, do you mean like when you're playing it, it's tarnished and then it cleans back up, or it's just staying that way? But either way, it sounds like the hardware is not so awesome. So there's just no way around that, man. You're gonna have to upgrade the stuff or live with that. So, although I love stuff when it's not. I mean, I don't want stuff to get ruined, but I love stuff when it's like a little worked in. Scratchy Pots, great name. Phil, any news on this year's GitCon? LOL. Thanks. Yes. What would you like to know? GitCon is in October. It's the second week of October. That's what I know. I have no confirmation of who is and who is not going, other than a few people that I know is going. But it looks like it might have the same round of people as last time, but not all of them. Something like that. But I can tell you this. Here's what I can tell you. It's happening, and it is the second week of October, and it's all confirmed. So there's that. So yeah, it's coming. Okay, what else we got? We got a few more minutes. Let's do a couple more questions, since there's still almost 900 of us on here. Phil, your thoughts on the Redwood pedals? I've tried a few. I never really like nothing. I couldn't tell you what they sounded like. I've just played them in passing. I wish I could yeah, they were great or they're bad or whatever. I just literally no recollection of them at all. So. James Taylor says, I'm going to an in-store meet and greet with Paul Reed Smith tomorrow. What question would you ask him? Oh, man. I don't know. I could tell you what not to ask him. How about that? How about we just tell you all the stuff not to ask him? What sets him off? Not what, not what makes him crazy. You know what? Here's what I will tell you, James. Ask him anything you want, because he's a pretty candid guy. But what I will tell you is this. If I'm just going to give you a recommendation, when you're there with him, remember this. He's one of the few guitar builders, iconic builders, Fender, Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Rickenbacker, that still owns his company, runs it. The guy running it is the guy with his name on it, kind of thing. And so there, you know what? Don't be afraid to ask him anything. He's very candid, so he's pretty candid on camera. He's more candid in those environments, you know what I mean? So yeah, feel free to hit him with anything. You can ask him about his work-life balance. You can ask him about anything. He's pretty open. So he's never not answered anything I've ever asked him. So Alex, one more time. Alex Alexander. Man, what is poor Alex, man? That's tough. Alex Alexander. Say that twice fast. Alex Alexander. That's a cool name, but man, that's tough. Alex Alexander says, I paid $50 for a used LTD MTN. That's a good deal. Good idea to put $200 of quality parts in to gain the experience before I work on anything else. Yes and no. Yes. Do I think you should put $200 into the guitar? No. But when you said to gain experience, absolutely. You got a guitar for $50. If your plan is, what can you learn from working on this guitar? Please. Yes. You cannot buy any education like that for $50. Right? So $50. Yeah. You got a guitar. You got nothing to lose, man. So have at it. And be prepared, be ready that you don't put anything in it that you can't get out. In other words, don't do any permanent modifications that you can't, get those parts back out. But yeah, feel free to put some money into it and learn from it. So, Donovan wants to know if I've ever tried carbon fiber acoustic guitars. I have. I've actually owned a Rain Song. I liked it. I really like the acoustic ones better that PV owns, but they're expensive. But I like them. You know what I mean? I like the idea of them. A bulletproof acoustic guitar, a guitar that basically doesn't need humidity, or you take it anywhere and paddle canoe with it. It's cool. The only negative I have about them is that they sound good, and you're always blown away with them. That's what I realized. Every time I play one, I go, wow, this is amazing. And then when you compare them to a real like wood guitar that's actually less money than them, every time they are not as good sounding. That's my personal preference. Like I go, let's say you get a $2,000 carbon fiber guitar. I go, this is amazing. I can't believe it sounds this good, even though it's made of carbon fiber. Then you compare it to a $1,000 acoustic made of wood and go, the $1,000 acoustic sounds better. But that $1,000 acoustic isn't waterproof. So there you go. So the funny story, I'll tell you a funny story, and I don't is this. Rain Song Guitars was developed by a company in Hawaii, and the owner was because when his son-in-law and his daughter were getting married, they paid to have some acoustic trio come from Spain and play this, expensive wedding, right? The guy's rich. He has a band come, and they come to play the wedding, and it was started raining because it's Hawaii, and the band would not play outside because it was raining. They didn't want to get their expensive instruments wet, and they refused to do it. And he was upset. And then his son-in-law was explaining to him, like, yeah, they can't, it'll ruin the guitar. They can't do this. And that's where the brainstorm idea was, to make Rain Song acoustic guitars. So that's one of the things they have going for them, is the guitars are impervious to weather. Matthew wants to know thoughts on the Keeley Compressor Plus. What does the hard soft switch do? So first of all, I love every Keeley compressor. I'm a Keeley compressor fanboy for sure. I like compressors in general. I have a lot of compressors. I think if you were to actually count all my pedals and what I have, overdrives are by far the #1 pedal I have the most of, and then next is compressors. So I really like compression. And Keeley is definitely one of my highest rated in what I love in compressors. The hard soft switch, I don't know because I'm not looking it up. To me, I don't know what it does. I just know that I use mine in the soft position. So if that makes any difference whatsoever, it's horrible to not give you the information, but at least I can give you my preference. So I like the soft switch. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, what else we got? What else we got? Hold on. We got Seb Razzo says, hey, Phil, have you tried Fishman Fluence pickups? Could you do a review? I haven't tried the Fishman Fluence pickups. Those are by far the most interesting pickups I want to try next. If there was any pickup that I have to try next. And as you guys, I mentioned before, Frank Falbo is a good acquaintance of mine, and I thought about reaching out to them. The reason I haven't reached out to Fishman Fluence since the last time we talked on a live show is I literally have too many pickups now to install guitars. So I have this set of, these are the, what do I have? I have the Sonic Ecstasies by DiMarzio. I have to install on a guitar. I haven't done it yet. I have, what else do I have? I have the Phil X pickups that I haven't installed on a guitar yet. I have these cool Gibson P90s that I haven't installed on a guitar yet. I have some of the vintage pickups by the Golden Age pickups by Stuart McDonald. I haven't installed a guitar yet. So my problem is I have so many pickups that I haven't installed the guitars yet because I've been kind of busy with these other projects. And so I don't want to really ask anybody for some. Oh, and I just got some lace sensors for a project. So again, I don't want to ask anybody for some pickups when I'm kind of behind on them now. So that's the reason why, Seb. But so you know, without a doubt, the Fishman Fluences. I've heard so much good stuff. I mean, the raving that guitar players give them, it's put them on my radar, probably like everybody else. All I hear is like, it's the greatest thing ever. Okay, so Marty German says PRS Archon versus Sanzera as a pedal platform. I would say both are very close. I prefer the PRS Archon to the Sun Zero, but is literally not based on any logic like the Sun Zero is bad. I just really like the Archon. And again, I can't say, oh yeah, I can't say sadly enough the Sun Zero is better because I purchased the Archon. I did not keep the Sun Zero. And the main reason I think that is, just like my Custom 50 head, is I like them slightly better, slightly. But in both cases, I will say this, for me personally, on the clean side, I would almost say the Custom 50 I have, the Sun Zero and the Archon are somewhat close. In other words, I would not want to put a $10 bill on the table and you guys go through those 3 amps and I tell you which one's which. So clean, I think you're fine. Sun Zero, Archon, same. Who cares? The reason why I went Sun Zero and Custom 50 was for me in the dirty sounds. I like the Archon and the Sun Zero and the Custom 50 are different in the distortion sounds, and I preferred those two over the Sun Zero in the distortion platform. So there you go. Plus, both the Archon and the Custom 50, in my opinion, can get quieter than Sun Zero. The one thing I seem to meet people that have Sun Zeros, and we all seem to agree, even on the lower watt, the 20 watt Sun Zero, they are so loud. They're a loud amplifier. They can crank. And even when you try to turn them down, they're still pretty loud. So as a platform amp, it's tit for tat. So Matt did a super chat, and I want to thank him for that. He didn't want to question anything. And I'm scrolling through all these to catch up all the other little questions and see if we can find some cool stuff as well. There was a lot. You know, what's funny is there's 800 of us, but what's funny is more questions than normal. Okay, here's where we're going. Where we got? One more. Okay, Roy wants to know, where's Sammy Ash? Probably in New York. But here's the funny thing. I was literally at Sam Ash yesterday in Glendale, Arizona. I think that's where it's at. It's very north of me. And they were saying that Sammy might be coming to that store in a couple weeks. So I'm going to send him an email this weekend to ask him if he is coming to town, can we do a live show, maybe at his store? I'm sure you guys would like that, something like that. We'll try and make that happen. But yes, I know you guys want him back on. He's Sam Ash. He owns Sam Ash stores. So I try to, the problem is there's no way I can ask him to format his life into my scheduled show. So that's what I'm going to have to deal with is try to figure out how to do a live show with him at some point where I don't make him bend to our timeline. So that's fine. But I definitely want him back on. I think he was amazing to have on, and I think he'll do it again for sure. Okay. All right. What else we got? Let's see what else. Okay. You know what we need is like good music. So when I'm reading questions, I can play not hold music, but like maybe game show music. So, and then Royal says, I have a Dean Hollywood for Sharper Max. Roy, just send that to askknowyourgear@gmail.com and put in there Sharper Max as the subject line and just put that the guitar in there and what it is. You know, the easy part of this is if it's up to me, it kind of is. This is a video series that I would like to see happen as a continuation. Always do Sharpen My Axes all the time, for a while, because I think I found a way to continue to do this in a way that makes it fun. Because here's why: I'm getting companies to give us free stuff that I can shove in your guys' guitars and then send it to you. What a great way to say thank you, guys. And what a way, since it's the company's doing it. The problem though is I got to find a way to make it to where it doesn't cost me so much. And I've done a great strides to that, and it's been great. And like I said, overall, so good. Okay. And does anyone know when the super chats go? Because I know the super chats, when the video ends, they go into a thing where it collects them up. You know what? Top chat, no, live chat. Does anyone know where they go? That's my problem with super chats. Is there a color and I see them, and then for some reason there's no way to like look at all of them. So that's what we need to do. Okay, so gorgeous, sure, Roddy Chrome says, Opinion on GFS pickups. A quick plug for Guitar Fetish. I've installed dozens of Guitar Fetish products into guitars for customers, and I thought they were always very good product. They are super affordable. I dare say like the Harley Benton of guitar parts worlds, where it's like you feel like you're really getting a lot more than what you paid for. So yes, if you guys don't know about Guitar Fetish, it's worth checking out because, like I said, whether you think they're great, whether you think they're good, they are definitely priced to a point where no one buys one and goes, okay, yeah, I wasted my money. You know, where do you get stuff? Where do you get a pickup for $20 that, you know, that's pretty decent? That's where you get it. So there you go. Ramsey says, hey, where are you from? Technically, I was born in California, but I'm from Arizona. So, and then, okay, and then there's a super chat, another super chat in a minute, but I'm trying to find all the, okay, ready? Opinions on the Harley, I think he's saying Harley Benton. Harley Benton R456. It's an original number. 456. $190 shipped. Has Floyd Rose specs. So far, generally what I get from Harley Benton replies is this from you guys. You get half of you guys say, for the money, they blow everything away, best investment ever. And the other half say, yeah, it's not that amazing. It's exactly what you get what you pay for. What's interesting about that is I've not had anybody say, oh, I paid $150 for Harley Benton and it was junk. That's a pretty impressive thing to say. So, you know, there you go. Opinions on the Harley Benton R456 for $190 shipped. My opinion is if you buy it, you may like it. And if you do, you got a great guitar for $190. If you don't like it, it's worth $120 on your local Craigslist, and you know, you go on the way. The only thing I'm worried about with Harley Benton is, I don't know about you guys, is it seems like I keep seeing more and more used ones. I've seen 2 in the last 2 days at local music stores used, because I think a lot of us are impulse buying them and then maybe getting rid of them. I don't know, but good stuff. Like I said, curious. I know a lot of you guys asked me about reviewing them. So like I said, I will definitely, I said I wasn't interested, but obviously enough of you guys said it. Maybe I should review 1 or 2. And then maybe there'll be something interesting. Maybe I can do a fix up on one, and then we can do a giveaway, something cool like that. All right. And see, I think that's the problem. So, you know, is I can't go back in the archive to this. John Dykes says, what's your favorite fuzz? You know, pedals, sadly enough, are sometimes like music, where it's like, what do I like now? Favorite fuzz now. What do I haven't used fuzz lately for some reason. I haven't been using fuzz. I probably haven't plugged in a fuzz pedal in a couple months. So I'm trying to think what I use. I have one that Lawrence made me called the Green Russian. I don't think he sells it, but it's really good. I bought it off him. I tried it. It was kind of like a prototype pedal or something, and I tried it and I loved it and I bought it off him. So I like the Green Russian. I like the Javelina fuzz a lot. That's one of the ones I go to a lot. And then the Big Muff after that, which is kind of boring. So those are definitely the there you go. Very, very unexciting. Okay, what else do we got? This is fun. You guys are kind of hanging. We'll just keep going a little bit longer than normal. And wow. Okay, more Harley Benton stuff. My Harley Benton PRS SE 24 style guitar was pretty cool. Nice flame. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, like I said, what I notice, what I take for the sum of the Harley Benton stuff is, sure, some people are like a little gracious with the review, like, wow, it's the greatest thing ever. And then some people are not as impressed. But I haven't seen anybody say, oh, junk. So, you know, so like I said, I think it builds confidence. I mean, you know, they're very inexpensive. Tig Room 01 says, is the Lou Joyo amp worth getting for headphone and effects loop? Huh. I don't. Okay, hold on a second. This is one of those things where I don't know what that is. And that's why I'm a little shocked. Hold on a second. LUE Joyo amp. What amp is that? Can you clarify on that? Because I really want to answer your question. LUE Joyo amp. Anyone? Okay, we'll come back to it. I don't want to lose that. Oh, he meant blue. Okay, cool. Thank you, Beatmaster. This is the blue Joyo amp worth it. I have it right here. The Blue Jay. You're talking about this? So the question is, hold on, I don't want to lose James's question. So the question is the blue Joyo amp worth getting for headphone and effects loop? This amp, for me, of all these Joyo little amps, is probably my favorite in the idea that I can run pedals in front of it as a pedal platform. All of them as a whole, I thought they were pretty good. You know what I mean? There's certain things I like about each one. You know, obviously we know what this stuff is. This stuff is fun, right? It's a little teeny amp. It's got some cool dirt sounds. They're different. There's good ones. I haven't tried them all. But this one, I think it does clean really well, and it can put with pedals in front of it. It sounds pretty good. So yeah, definitely for that feature. Yes. In fact, as you can tell, it's right here because that's what I was using the other night. I have a pedal plugged into it. I'm literally working on another video. It's another 7 gadgets video. And one of the gadgets is really cool. Is something that involves a pedal, but it's not a pedal. And I was using that as a platform. So yeah, as a recommendation, I would recommend that amp as a pedal platform. More so than anything else. I think the Orange Terrors, I think a lot of the small amps like the Orange Terror, Micro Terror, and the Micro Dark Terror, and a lot of those small platform amps that I think maybe are better sounding than Joyo amps for the whole of it. And that's, again, argumentative, but, you know, for my statement, all don't do what that blue does, which is just do a great clean platform for an amp. So James Casper says, Phil, got a Roland JC40. What cab can I add? You know, I don't know, but I will look right now. So we're talking about the Roland JC40. And that's the Jazz Chorus 40. So if you guys are familiar with the infamous Roland Jazz Chorus amp, 120, which is a 120 watt amp through 212s, Roland made a Jazz Chorus 40 watt amp with 2 8-inch speakers or 10-inch speakers. Let's take a look. And so you guys aren't guessing what I'm looking at and staring at me looking at something, let's share for a second. I love looking at the gear. So the JC40 has, this is what I want to see, 2 10-inch speakers. So 40 watts through 2 10-inch speakers. And very cool, very clean. What I want to see is the back. And what do we got going on the back? Well, we got the effects loop. Okay, so you got it left and right mono and stereo returns with the send. And it does series or parallel. That's cool. You got foot switch right here. You got line out and you got phones. Okay, so you're asking, unless there's a head version, you're asking what cabinet can you add? You would have to disconnect these and somehow wire up a cabinet to that. Does it make sense? I don't see where it has an actual output for the cabinet. So I am going to switch us back. Hold on to me. And more importantly, while I'm doing that, look back again. And just want to make sure that they didn't add a head that I don't know about. And I see the JC1. So I don't see a JC40 head. So to answer your question, and the way I understand it is, got the Roland JC40. So you mean the combo. What cab can I add? You can add any cabinet you want, but you're going to have to splice into those speakers, and then you're going to have to figure out in the manual or somewhere what ohms those speakers are at. And because this is a solid-state amp, ohms are kind of a different rule with solid-state amps, okay? They different than tube amps. There's I don't want to say less danger, but technically less danger of hurting the amplifier with that. But what the amps will do is not work. If they give them the wrong ohms, they'll turn off. They're just like, they're done. And also they will definitely dramatically change the wattage that the amp puts out. So the ohms are really, really important for that. So you still need to follow all the rules you do with ohms. Maybe not as dangerous as 2 amps, but I don't want to be misleading with that. It just, you know, it's like, if 10 is dangerous for tube amps, they're 9. You know what I mean? So you still have to do that, but you're gonna have to jump off it. So yeah, and Dave R, perfect, man. Thank you for chiming in with that. Also, keep in mind that the Jazz Chorus 40 is stereo, exactly. So you know, I mean, there's a lot going on there. Me personally, It's up to you. I don't know if I would mess with it. So, somebody's like, I can taste the Sweetwater candy. Thoughts on doing a review of the Schecter Nick Johnson signature? Man, I would love to try the guitar, but it is hella expensive. It's a, that's an expensive guitar. And there's no dealers that stock it. I've never touched one. It would literally be me ordering online and hoping that I like it. And I'm just a little too scared of that. So there you go. That's the deal with that. Maddie K USA says, Phil, just to thank you for this and all of the great knowledge and content you have shared. Cheers, man. Thank you, Maddie. I appreciate that. That's really cool. And it means a lot. It does right here. And so thank you again. So, what else? What else we got? Okay. Rock Show says, where do you go if you need to rent a few Marshall stacks? Most cities and states, especially larger cities, have what's called a backline company that rents that stuff. But that's where you do that, backline stuff. So, John wants to know if I've heard of the new Brent Hines Terror. I have. I watched the reviews like anybody else. It looks great. Sounded great. Sounded a little, not much different than the original, but a little different. I see what he was going for. So, all right. Somebody says it's 1 a.m. where they're at and they're going to sleep. I don't blame you. Okay. Anything else before we tap out? Okay, wait, hold on. Jared Briggs says, hey, Phil, did you try the Silver Sky yet? Nope, I haven't tried it yet. So I did watch the live thing with John Marin. I thought it was very interesting. If you haven't done it, it was a really interesting perspective. I give him a lot of props for that video. Okay. Okay, and I know Kiefer Sutherland saying the super chat's missed. Man, Kiefer, it's sorry, buddy, but it's like I can't find it. And it says it's at the beginning of the, you know what? Let me try something I've never tried before. I'm going to try to go in and see if YouTube actually lets me, because they archive them, okay? So I wonder if they archive them in real time. And if they do, that'll fix all the problems right now. Let's see what happens. I'm opening it up. And they do. All right, man, I'm going to find them right now. So good. We don't have to miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to go right now. I appreciate you guys hanging with me. And I'm going to find any of the questions missed right now. Okay, so here's what we got. And all of them, look at it. They're okay. You know what? This is where I'm going to start looking for them because this makes sense. Okay. Okay, there's here's one. Shut Up, Let's Talk says they bought a Japanese RG 470, but fret sprout help. Yeah, you're just gonna have to correct that. If you've seen, I did a video on fret sprout. There will be a video next week's. Sharp My Axe has an extreme fret sprout issue, and that's what I'll be correcting in that. That'll help you on that one as well, hopefully. So there you go. Fret sprout is, of course, bad. Kiefer Sutherland said, asked about Guild Starfire last week. Got it and love it. Oh, good. Great craftsmanship. Details like smooth frets, perfect setup, out of the box, just $650. And that was made in Korea. So, that's an interesting thing. And you know what's interesting about that is I'm in the mood for a hollow body guitar right now. So double checking. And that maybe that's something I need to be looking at, man. You know what I mean? It's yeah, that looks really reasonable for that guitar. Looks like a nice guitar. I appreciate the heads up and the feedback on that. So let's see. Okay, Tele Pickups, we talked about that. Duncan Designs, we talked about that. Luna Guitars. Okay, so this came from Sebastian. He wants to know thoughts on the Super V Blade Runner on a Mexican-made Strat. Okay, I don't know what that is. So sometimes you need a visual. So let's go ahead and look. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, what's a Super V Blade Runner? And oh, by Babkiss, right? Okay, so let's share with you guys. I've installed a couple Babkiss stuff. I didn't know it was named anything other than the Babkiss stuff. The Babkiss bridge, let's pick one picture. Oh, what help if I pick this picture? Right here. This is the picture I want to show you. As you can see, what's interesting is see how the plate mounts straight to the body. This plate right here, see it? And then it hinges here. And I've had, I was impressed, right? Here's another picture right there. See it? Ta-da, using the super technology that they use. I've enjoyed all the Babkiss products I've installed onto guitars. I've installed Tele Babkiss bridges and Strat style Babkiss bridges. Never thought to think that they had a name, sub-name. I just thought it was Babkiss bridges. But no, definitely cool stuff. Highly recommend it. So thoughts on that on a Mexican Strat? It's all improvement, all the way to go, man. I really like it. And then Big J75 says, hey, Phil, hello from Canada. I'm currently setting up a new Ibanez SA. What is your opinion on the most ergonomically designed? Okay, this one we did do. What's your opinion on the PRS 15-watt head? Greg, like I said, I've tried it. I liked it, the new Tremonti head. I just decided I'm not personally going to buy one over my 25-watt Archon. Of course, as they get closer and closer to being available, who knows if I break down and do that. I would be mistaken if I didn't divulge to you that I've been kind of thinking about maybe getting my LBX, so get rid of it and getting that head. Maybe that's the way to go. You know how it goes. Because it has a clean channel, my LBX doesn't. Maybe that's the way to go. My LBX head is sitting there. It's not getting a lot of use, and that's what I'm thinking. So. What else do we got? Okay, we got those ones. We answered those. We answered the Kamikaze Guitars ones. And did that one. Sammy Ash, we talked about that. See, good. Now I know how to find these, and we can't lose them now. So that's good. I appreciate you guys hanging with me and figure this out. Favorite Fuzz, JC40. And there we go. We covered them all. That's good. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I said that, and then we got DRB says, did you ever mod an Epi Valve Junior head? They're $100 on Reverb. I've never done it. I've seen people do it. It's definitely an amp because the Epiphone Valve Junior head for me is the very first small amp in the explosion of the small amps. Like technically the way I look at it was, PB did it with the Classic 30. There was other amps out there, but to me, the Epiphone mini head was, I remember that was before mini amps were a thing. I just remember everybody getting one of those and showing it to me like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? And so modding it. So I've never modded any on my self, but there is tons of schematics out there for it. It's a pretty straightforward amp, one knob, you know what I mean? Easy to do. Now that I mention it, somebody might even be able to include some of the places they like, because there's different mods. That's the only problem is not, should you mod it? There's so many mods for it now. It gets a little probably confusing what mods to go with. So that's the little tricky part, but they're ferocious when they get kicking. So, and then somebody asked, Phil, are you interested in the Charvel Satchel DK signature guitar? I'm not. Like I said, I tried it at the NAMM show. I was impressed with it. I thought it was cool. It's not something it's on my radar right now. So nothing in particularly good or bad, just not on the radar. So, because I got some new guitars to review. I'm excited about. One is behind me right now. So if you're looking behind me, one of those guitars is new. And so there's that for you guys to drive you crazy. See which one it is. Oh, okay. Sonic Sega has got a great question. Do you do a video on what pedal brands own who? I see so many clones that aren't they all the same? Yeah, what's funny though is if you looked at the video where I said what guitar brands own who, the guitar brands, it's a much different scenario. Pedal companies is not that way. There's there's a lot of pedal companies that are all using the same source parts. In other words, they're all buying from the same suppliers and then putting together pedals differently. You know what I mean? But there is not a whole lot of companies that, like, there isn't like a brand X also builds brand YZ, you know what I mean, A and B, and I don't know what I'm saying like that, but you get the idea, you know, and that it's all really the same paddles repackaged, like kind of like guitars. They are somewhat different. Now there is a little cross contamination with companies building for other companies, but they are building totally different spec'd out pedals. So even if I could tell you, like, for instance, another boutique amps distribution, which is owned by Avi, they build the Wampler pedals, they build Bogner's pedals, they build 65 amps pedals, they build the Friedman pedals, they build Agnator's pedals. They're all built physically in that same building, but dramatically different specifications on them. So, you know, there is no repackaging that I've seen, that I've witnessed in any way that I could say, oh yeah, this Friedman is actually this pedal repackaged. They are diversely different in every way. So the only thing they share in common is almost, like I said, they're using it's like I said, the analogy I like that I use a lot is it's a commercial kitchen. Avi's would be the commercial kitchen. They have all the equipment and ability and people to make all these different recipes, but all the recipes are extremely different. So, you know, there you go. And there's a little bit of a brain trust going on there where they get to share ideas with each other. Maybe Dave Freeman helps the Wampler guys a little bit. Maybe the Wampler guys help the Freeman guys. I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but I do know that they do interact into some degree because they've disclosed that. Each one of those guys have said, hey, these guys help me a little bit. So it's all for the best. In that scenario, that's a great scenario to have happen. So, but yeah, there's no scenario where like Boss makes pedals. The only time that's probably accurate is, you know, there's a lot of talk about the fact that the Moore guys maybe make pedals for like Donner and they make pedals for the Fender guys. But sadly enough, I've heard no confirmation of that, other than they just look alike. But to be honest with you, all those mini pedals look alike. So maybe it's something that we could try to discover and do stuff, but I just haven't seen anything. Okay, so next one is from Mike Larson. He says, hey, Phil, what was the best? Oh, this is tricky. Hey, Phil, what was the best? Your favorite memory of running a physical store? Oh, you know what was my favorite thing about physical store? You know, my favorite memories of the store are really has nothing to do with the store, sadly enough. It has to do with the Lesson Academy side, the students. They're the ones that, I mean, I meet my customers every day. I bumped into a customer today, you know, and it's great seeing them and talking to them. Of course, you know, it's just like any relationships. It's great to see people. But when I look at my phone Rolodex, here's the thing. When I look at my phone Rolodex and I see the people that I communicate with on a regular basis, the majority of them are, you know, of course, my age, but they were students. You know what I mean? They're students. There's just something about people learning music that you bond with. So there you go. Okay. Well, we started a little late, but we went a little long. So we'll do a couple more questions, and because there's still 800 of you guys hanging in, and we'll next question is C2222030. Man, that's you know, that maybe it's your license plate number. Like, what an interesting name. I dig it. Line 6, M series, best harmonizer, TC and Boss, no good. Okay. So it's a statement. I don't think it's a question. So you're saying the Line 6 M series is the best harmonizer, the TC and the Boss are no good. I'd like to check that out. That's an interesting thing, because that's a question you get. What's the best harmonizer out there? And I always recommend the TC and the Boss and never the Line 6. So an interesting point that you're making, because you're saying the opposite of what I think. To be honest, I don't think I've ever given the Line 6 a shot. So maybe I need to do that. Cannon Lawrence says, hey, Phil, just made the decision to sell all my pedals and pedal board and move to a Helix. I made enough money to buy the Helix and an American Strat. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, I get that quite, you know what, I get that statement a lot from people like, hey man, with all your pedals, you could just sell that and get an Axe Effects or a Helix, even better, you know, save some money. Yes, I agree. But what I always remind people And in your situation, I think that's the best for you. I think that's a great idea. You seem excited about the plan. Here is the difference between me. I don't own a lot of pedals because I'm looking for a lot of different sounds. I own a lot of pedals because I collect them like you would collect Matchbox cars or action figures or whatever things people collect. I don't know what they collect. But literally, this is what I collect. I bought a pedal today. I bought the Metalcore pedal. People on Instagram were busting my chops. They're like, but I bought it because I was in a store. It was used. It was a good deal, and I got it. Yesterday, I was in a store, and I bought the Boss Tremolo pedal. Again, same thing. It was a really good deal. It's fun. I wanted to mess with it. I had this pedal before. I thought I liked it. I can't remember, but Ralph took it and kept it. I don't think he knows I know that. I think he does. He borrowed it, and I don't think he ever gave it back. But, you know, me and Ralph have been friends for 20 years, and I think I probably have a couple of his hats, and he has a couple of my pedals, and maybe I have one of his pedals. I think I actually have one of his pedals in my rack or in this shelf somewhere where I borrowed it. Same thing I did to him, he did to me. But my point is, I collect the pedals because they're kind of fun and they're interesting to check out. And so that's why. So yes, I'm very aware of that. And the Helix is definitely on my radar, probably more than any other product because it's priced a little right and I keep hearing good things. And so, yeah, I think it's a good logic. I think a lot of people can identify with that. So there you go. In pedals wise, you know, different than guitars. If somebody said, hey, you know, if you could only have 3 guitars, that question, I hate that question. I only hate it, not because it's not a good question. It's hard. I don't know if you guys have the same problem. Like, hey, what guitar would you keep if you only keep one? And I always think I know the answer and I always say it, but then later I think and I go, maybe this other one. Pedals, I could definitely go to 5 pedals. Like all these pedals, 5. You say pick 5. And I could do that for sure. Because there's, you know what I mean? Because there's so much redundancy with pedals. So they're only slightly different. Greg Williams just wanted to do a super chat to help out. Man, I really appreciate this, guys. Really cool. And I hope you guys really are excited about what's coming next week with the Sharp Max videos and the other videos that I got coming that are cool. It was all based on feedback from you guys. Everything I'm just doing is for you guys. And if you guys don't follow on the Instagram and the Facebook, make sure you check those things out because I just did some cool things, cool meaning cool, interesting things on Facebook. Videos that are coming, I think was really cool. And I use you guys as what to do. So, I mean, literally you guys are amazing and helping so much. Tim Brown says, did you keep the Dane Electro 66? I do. It's actually downstairs. I've actually been thinking about bringing it upstairs. It's downstairs and it's actually, I don't know, I'm saying actually a lot. It's the guitar I'm playing the most right now when I'm downstairs. So yeah, I'm playing the Dane Electro 66 the most of all the Dane Electros for sure. So yeah. I really like the guitar. I really like it. It's really cool. It's easy to play. It just it feels fantastic. So, Ramsey wants to know, Phil, what kind of music do you listen to? It depends on my mood in the day and what I'm up to. There's certain music I always listen to. I'm a big fan of certain bands, and they've been really important to me for so long that I listen to them pretty often. I like what I call pop punk rock. So Sum 41, Blink 182. I love Bowling for Soup. They're one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band. That kind of stuff, right? Foo Fighters. I love that kind of power chord, fun rock. Love that stuff. Some of my favorite artists, my favorite song in the world is probably by Monty Montgomery, and I'm a huge Monty Montgomery fan. I'm a huge Bob Schneider fan. I listen to him quite a lot. But then I'll go through moods where I'm listening to, some blues, and then I go through country. You know what happens to me? It's kind of like with the guitars. I'll go to a concert, and then for a while, if I go to a country concert, I'll listen to country for mostly for a month or two. And then I'll go to a rock concert and listen to rock, and I'll go to a metal concert and listen to metal. It's really just, to me, it's not that to me, music is like flavors. Sometimes it's like I just had a lot of chocolate for a while. Let's do a different flavor. Same logic. This is probably one of the longest QAs we've ever done. Beatmaster is going to see the Foo Fighters live. Dude, I saw him 2 years ago, probably 4 years ago. You know how time goes. Where he had the cast and he was on the Game of Thrones throne. The guy has energy that it's just uncomprehendable. He once said, he might have said at the concert, I saw an interview, but he said his goal every night is to scream so loud and so much that he loses his voice, and it's never happened yet. I cannot believe that he doesn't lose his voice. And I believe him 100% when he says he's trying to. Dave Grohl is a maniac. Michael D8393 says, Bowling for Soup 1985 made my middle school years. I miss those days. Yeah, you know what it is? I like the substance of some music, but I like the fun of other music, and it's a fun music. It's funny. Okay. All right. You guys got some. All right. More about Dave Grohl. Yeah, he's had a caffeine addiction at one time, documented. Yeah, you know what? I've read a lot of books from a lot of our favorite rock stars from back in the day, and I heard Dave Grohl's mom's book is fantastic, so I need to read that next. Okay, and I'm going to leave you with this one. SM Coffee says, Phil, I have a 68 Princeton. Can I play my Godin A6 through it? Man, I hope so, because I was playing my Godin A6 through mine yesterday for about an hour and a half. So yes, I'm going to say you can, and if you can't, we'll blow up our amps together. No, seriously, yeah, you absolutely can. It's totally fine, I promise. Yeah, I'm doing it, and you're good. You're absolutely good. To everyone else, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today, especially for the hangups with being a little late. And this is the end where I just want to say thank you to the people that make the live show happen. They are fantastic, and I can't leave without doing a quick shout out to those guys as well. So just let me tell you real quick. I just want to say thank you to Bradulus, Jeff Howes, Zachary Rowe, Michael Newman, Bruce Garris, Hannah Gunson, John Jex, Michael Shy, Justin Mabe, David Madison, Lawrence Petros, of course. Thank you, Lawrence, for great pedals and for helping out. James Biles, Robert Brooks, Tom Camacho, Robert Hodges, Steve Pinna, Paul Ostrich, Michael Linder, Joe Watson, Brent Odell, Greg. I can't say your last name, Greg. And you know it's worse as I got to learn that. Vacuink. I think the J is silent. Vacuink. You know what? Send me a message. How am I saying it? Jonathan Pickering. Jonathan, I actually need to send you an email, so so I'll make sure I'll do that. Bob Pickwood, Tim, just Tim. We all know that because it's just Tim. John Leavitt, Space Jazz, Pedal Pal Effects. If you guys didn't see, I just did their Pal 800 review. Obviously, I'm a big fan of that pedal for sure. Those guys were really cool. Thank you so much for sending that and for hanging out on the patron hangs. Ricky Robson, Chuck Keen, Chris Glaze, Dylan 87, of course, Russ from Taurus Pedals, probably one of the first pedals I ever reviewed, and a cool guy to boot. Thank you guys for all that support. Also, one more thing to mention towards the end is we do the shirt of the month, and this shirt's Tele, and the only reason I mention that is because obviously next week's the last week of that. So many of you guys got it. I don't think there's probably anyone out there that needs one because it's done really well. So, but just in case there's somebody out there that missed it, I don't want to find out when I do next month's shirt that you guys say, hey, I didn't know about it. There you go. I mentioned that this month's Know Your Gear shirt of the month is a Tele shirt. Also, don't be afraid to send me messages about a typical shirt you would like to see. So I said I have it planned out, but I'm always willing to change. A lot of you guys have seriously changed my mind after last time I mentioned the shirts and which ones I was doing. A bunch of you guys sent and seemed really adamant about me doing some other guitars. And so I've made some changes to the list. So there you go. So like I said, it's a community, and I listen to everything you guys say. I maybe not get the chance to respond to everybody, but I promise I read most of it, and I try to at least respond quickly to some of it. So there you go. And as always, you guys are awesome. It was a good hang. Thank you guys so much again. And until next week, know your gear, man.